Okay,
Here we are,
here we are again.
back to back.
Back to back. Well, not to everyone listening. Back to back for us.
Yeah.
But, I have to say, and I'm not just saying this because we're on mic, but I really love having these conversations with you. You're actually one of my, if not my favorite person to sit down and have these kinds of conversations with you. It's just like a bonus that we can catch it on mic. So other people can benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I agree.
So, one of the reasons why I wanted to come back and do another episode is because there was one question that came up in the last episode from one of our listeners that I thought was such a important and a deep topic that I think is really, really necessary for us to dive into, and also so helpful for everyone to learn from and to use it. I guess to know more about themselves in relation to intimacy, and to have a more, I don't want to use the word realistic because that sounds a little negative, but I mean like a more authentic context for being in a relationship, and whether you're in one or whether you're looking for one, to hold that relationship in. And the question was, what are the wounds that we mirror in each other in our relationship that we see? And we dived in a little bit into that topic. And actually, I want to use the conversation now to dive even deeper into that topic.
Yes. Well, you are the expert here in diving in and unpacking these topics. So let's dive into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's begin by kind of speaking about what the conditioning, the current conditioning is. I guess it's a generalized, in a generalized way, what the current conditioning is in relation to why we get into relationships, what we may be wanting and looking for. So let's begin with that. So before you started kind of diving into the patterns and looking deeper and being in a relationship with me, which is my kind of, I'm such a nerd on that. Like, you guys don't seem to realize it's not just my work. Like I am weirdly obsessed with human behavior and human patterns and what drives human choices and decisions and way of being and how the mind works. Like I can nerd out on that forever.
Yes, you can.
And of course, you've learned a lot from being in relationship with me because of that.
But I also enjoy it too. I mean, I think that's a big part of like why we get along. And then I think when we first connected, it was like, oh, we were going deep.
Yes.
Just even as friends on a retreat. And
yes,
our conversations in that medicine retreat made my journey go deeper just through our conversations.
Yes. And of course, what makes it even more interesting is that not only are we constantly already interested in the inquiry into what drives human beings in their behavior and choices and patterns and problems and wounds and whatever it is that's in the way of our thriving, but that we can use our relationship, the entity of our relationship, to look at those things. Like I count myself as my most interesting client to engage with, meaning I use my own humanness and our intimacy and our humanness to really ask, deeper, bigger questions about what it is that drives us human beings. I just think it's such an amazing foundation for us to use and to look at and to learn things from, as well as the fact that we are in a relationship and we love each other.
Yeah.
So let's begin by just kind of getting clear on what the kind of generalized conditioning is when it comes to getting into relationships. I mean, I think the first thing is that most people think, and so did I, that, getting into a relationship is really about romance and the love story, and the fairy tale.
I was going to
Yes?
say the fairy tale.
Yeah, you were going to say the fairy tale.
Yeah.
I, hands up, absolutely own that I fell for that hook, line, and sinker as a young girl. Not a young girl, but in my early 20s. And absolutely, that was like all I thought relationships were about. Yes? Did you agree? Do you agree?
I did, yeah. When I was 20 and in like early 20s, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get married. I'll be married by the time I'm 25. And then 25 came and I was like, I'll be married by the time I'm 30. And then 27 came. I was like, I don't know about, okay, I think I'm good for now.
You think you're good. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think it also coincides with the fact that around that age, you were starting to really thrive in your career.
Yes, there was that, and I think also by the time I was 27 is when I let go of the construct of Christianity. So I think a lot of it was programmed from the religion of you have to get married to have sex, and you have to that's the only way to do it. And then from 27, I was kind of like, I don't even know if just feels too much of a construct. I don't know if I can buy into it.
Right. And I think it makes sense that, the first phase of coming out of deep conditioning, which has really not only limited you, but kind of imprisoned you. And I say you, meaning so many of us. It's just yours happened to be in the construct of religion and Christianity. The first step of coming out of that imprisoned state is to do the opposite. I want to be free and independent, and I don't need all that stuff. And that makes sense because you then threw yourself into your career and your expression and your own individual path. Would you agree?
Yeah.
It didn't seem like a priority to get married and be in a long-term committed relationship.
Yeah, I mean, that was when my career started taking off. So I was traveling around the world and, photographing everyone in different countries, different places. And so my focus was just way more on my career and creativity and enjoying it all. So it kind of went to the background.
Right. Now, when I look back on my history, before I got married, every single relationship I got into, even if I told myself I was an independent woman, which I was absolutely dead bent on being, because it was the opposite of my childhood. I am a Chinese, Malaysian Chinese, Thai Malaysian Chinese woman of heritage. It is in my ancestral heritage that as a Chinese Asian woman, you find a strong, rich white man to take care of you, and you will be good. No one actually deliberately said that to me, but that was inherent in everything that I was brought up to learn and absorb and witness. And so I think the rebel in me was like, fuck you, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to be a ruthlessly independent woman that doesn't need anybody, that makes my own money, and I don't even need a man to take care of me. So every time I actually got into a relationship, all I really wanted, I didn't want the fairy tale as in I wanted to be saved, but I definitely wanted the fairy tale as in this human being is going to make me feel more loved than I've ever felt before. Meaning it is your job to make me feel that way. Now, I wasn't conscious about that, but when I look back on it, that's exactly what was driving me. And of course, even saying that, that's really not a very healthy foundation to come into anything, right? Your job, I haven't told you that that's your job, but your job is to make me feel as special and worthy and wanted that I don't really feel on my own as you could ever make me feel. Like, that's your job.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I think I don't think I'm alone in that. I think that is deeply ingrained in the conditioning that we grow up in as girls, with not only Disney movies and cartoons and rom-coms and magazines and the media. Like, it is just shoved down our throat that there will be the one that you meet, and it will feel like you are the princess. Now, as always, there's truth entangled with survival. The way that reality appears to us as human beings from the current kind of blind spot that we're in is that truth entangles with survival. So there is some truth to it, meaning there is a kind of an element that is truthful around feeling chosen and claimed. But then it gets so entangled without realizing it's getting entangled with the parts of us that feel unwanted and not chosen enough and unworthy and unseen, and that's a very young child need. So I think that is a deeply ingrained level of conditioning that comes with us girls as we grow up into young women.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's this space of, I think that I need, there's the need, right?
I need.
There's like this almost like, I need you to complete me. I need you to make me happy.
Yes.
It's a different need than the I am good on my own. I
already feel happy.
I already feel happy and content on my own, but I need you to, this is what I feel like what we learned last week is there's like a different, I need you, but to create a safe container so that we can excel together.
Right. Rather than I need you to fill
I need you to fill the hole that's inside of me.
within me.
Yeah.
Right. And most of us, men and women, we don't even realize what's unwhole and incomplete, particularly in the early stages of our life, 20s, 30s. We don't know that. And I don't know. I guess people are starting to do deeper work on themselves younger these days, which is extraordinary.
Yeah.
So, but I certainly did not know that in my 20s, maybe beginning to look a little deeper by the time I was in my 30s, but it was not clear to me. And for you, it's like the opposite. It was like, I don't need anyone, my career and my expression and my creativity and my path, and I don't need Christianity and all that stuff. You didn't need anything. You were kind of happy on your own, right?
Yeah, I would say like I was happy on my own, and I never really needed to be in a relationship, with the caveat that like I only want to be in a relationship with somebody that is expansive and, from where I already was or before.
Right.
Like I didn't need a relationship for the sake of being in a relationship.
No. And I guess my question to you is, and it is a genuine question I'm asking you right here in the moment. By the way, we don't prepare any of these conversations. They are organic and they happen in the moment. It's now, with what you know about yourself and you've learned about yourself and the work that you've done, how much of that was authentic, which there must be, and then how much of it was also like a protection, as in to kind of stay sovereign to yourself and not lose yourself, the potential of losing yourself to someone else?
I mean, I think there's a lot of entanglement in all of it, because there's the level of, okay, I don't need anyone unless they are expanding my life. Then there's the, okay, this person feels like they're expanding my life, but then it gets to a space where, yeah, then I get scared to lose myself. then I go in that then because that relationship had become the mirror of that whatever that need was to feel like I had to like make this person happy or whatever. And then there's a different stage of like, okay, I learned from that, and now we're in a different space. We're like we talked about, we're the more healed versions of. I say more healed, not completely. More healed versions of our past partners.
Right. Yeah, and I want to dive into that. I actually want to really kind of pick that apart, not just for ourselves, but for the people listening.
Right. So I would say that it's like, okay, now we are both the type of people that are doing the work on ourselves to create a different level of growth.
Right.
Both personally and together.
Right. So let's look at that. Would it be accurate to say that before us, your past relationships had a few questions, revealed similar, if not identical patterns in some way in all of them, or at least a majority of them?
I would say a majority of them, yes.
A majority of them, right. So I can say the same for me too. A majority, not hands down 100%, but definitely a majority. So that's the first thing that's really clear on that is even if you change the person that you are in a relationship with, the same problems seem to come with you.
Right.
Eventually, after the hormones wear off and the honeymoon phase wears off, which is always wonderful. I love the honeymoon phase. But when it wears off, that's really where the relationship begins. And you actually meet the person. You're like,
Right.
oh, this is the person I am in a relationship with, because all the hormones and the drugs have gone and you've come down off the high and you're like, oh, this is the person that I'm in a relationship with. So when that happens, we can both accurately say that there have been really, really similar repetitive patterns in almost everyone.
Yes.
That in itself is a really confronting piece, because I think that part of the conditioning that is kind of shoved down our throats is that when you meet the right person, those problems will disappear.
Right.
That is inaccurate. That is an illusion.
Exactly.
In fact, it couldn't be further from the truth. You'll just have the same problems with a different person.
Yes.
Right. So wherever we go, we bring our problems with us. But it's so easy. Again, another piece of conditioning. The problem must be because of them. Meaning, if they changed their behavior, if they talked to me in a different way, if they made more money, if they brought me more flowers. Oh, not for you. Like if you, whatever. These are for me. If he gave me more attention. If he just stopped, if he did the work on himself and changed this about himself, well, then these problems would disappear. But then, as I got older and I had a few more relationships, I'm like, shit, like I'm the only consistent factor here. I'm there every time my problems in relationship arise. Would you agree that
Yes.
it has been the same for you?
Yes. I concur.
I concur. It's not a... Oh,
Oh.
I almost went into our little joke way of speaking. It's not an easy thing to see.
No.
Because I think that, again, there is a kind of a hopefulness that's sold to us that somewhere over the rainbow will be the person that we'll meet that this will go away.
Yeah, I believe it was Jerry Maguire that sold it to us.
What was that?
You complete me.
You had me at hello and you complete me. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is a completely fictitious.
Well, I
and
think we could probably list at least 10 to 15 movies that
and then
could
you
be
have
to blame for
Disney
that.
sold us a lie, and then
You
you
know,
have,
and
like,
then they met and it was happily ever after. I mean, that was literally shoved down our throats. I mean, as a child, I know that the generation that is growing up today is changing because the movies are changing, but I distinctly remember the movies I was watching. And when she finally met him, they lived happily ever after.
Yep. Exactly.
And then of course we get into relationships and the honeymoon phase wears off, and that's not how it feels. In fact, it's it's like the opposite. It's so confronting. I led thousands of people in very, very deep work, and I can tell you 100% of them will say that the hardest, most confronting place that they struggle and they experience the wounds of their childhood is when they get into intimate relationships.
Yeah.
So it's not only inaccurate what Disney and our upbringing taught us, it couldn't be further from the truth. So the reality is such a kick in the face. It's really you think that there's something wrong with you. Like, now that the honeymoon phase is over, all these problems start arising, and we trigger each other, and I feel unsafe again, and I feel unchosen again, and I feel unwanted again, and it must be because of you, or if you changed this, if you changed that, if you looked at me longer, if you didn't roll your eyes, whatever it is. um, then this wouldn't feel so bad. But actually, it feels so bad because you're in a relationship, and intimacy is the catalyst for the deepest wounds to be reached.
Right.
Right. So that's kind of the first piece of conditioning that needs to change. Because if we're getting into relationships from the context of I've met him and happily ever after, I mean, I think it would probably be accurate to say, long-term committed relationships are probably in its worst state than ever before today, because people are not, what's the right word? Preparing accurately, going in accurately. The expectations are unreasonable, or like it feels so bad when everything starts coming up that people don't realize that that's the point. You're meant to face things together.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's absolutely true. And it does take both parties actively wanting to work on themselves to be able to move through this stuff. Because if it's like, you're way into dissecting and understanding and doing all this stuff, but I'm like not, and I'm still acting from a place of just like a trigger that I don't even know that's happening, then there's no regulation on my end,
Right.
and no care to even look at it. It's just like anger and
Right.
trigger coming straight at you. So there is this space that it has to be both parties that want to be doing this work together. So it makes it easier to grow. And I think that's what I meant, especially when I said, it's easy to do hard things with you when both of us are on the track of wanting to develop ourselves and take a look at ourselves in the interaction of our relationship.
Yes.
Then it makes it easier to move through these things, to handle the conflict, to do the hard things together.
Exactly. Now, and thank you for saying that, because then that allows me to kind of to make it really clear for everyone listening. What we're not saying is that you should tolerate, really shitty experiences because that's where you have to do the work. what we're kind of beginning by saying is that if that is what you are experiencing, meaning once the hormones wear off and it's really challenging, in fact, you're getting really triggered or you're triggering each other and you're finding yourselves in repetitive, familiar problems and pain and suffering, that isn't because you're doing anything wrong. It's because that is what intimate relationships are going to bring up. The intimate mirror that you have chosen to open your heart to is the catalyst to show you what you have yet to heal and outgrow from your own childhood.
Yeah. And you can't do that not in a relationship.
You can't do it without engaging with intimacy.
Yeah. I remember one of my first longer term relationships. I've done so much personal development work and we just got to this place where I was like, I could not figure out what was happening because like I was trying to create a more conscious relationship, but she just wasn't. There was this disconnect between us in terms of wanting to actually do the work together. And I read this book, it was like called Hold Me Tight or something. And it's about like how you trigger each other's triggers. It was very much in the more probably therapeutic realm where you're just like, you can see and you're dealing with it, but it's not looking at it from a different perspective. And I was like, it gave me that was the first piece of awareness that this dynamic even exists of I do one thing, not even thinking about it, triggers you, and then you do that reaction of a trigger does something to trigger me, and then we get into this like it goes, and then it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it's like you can't even repair it anymore.
Yes.
Or you have to like do a lot of work together to repair it.
Yes, because essentially what's happening is the moment that deep intimacy is now on the table, meaning you've moved past the lust, I guess the lust phase, and you are delving into the realms of vulnerability. It's really, really vulnerable to be intimate with another human being. And intimacy is to allow someone to see you, to allow someone into the realms of your heart. And that is the very place that the survival mind and the survival identity is wired to protect based on your childhood.
Right.
It is literally its entire function is to armor and protect that very space of intimate, vulnerable, intimate heart that requires to be opened, is required to be opened in order to have a relationship, be in relationship. So you can hear the paradoxical conflict there. It opens because you have allowed yourself to care
right,
and love someone as close as you can get to love at that stage. And then that is what it feels like a direct threat to the very survival identity that has been wired since you were 4 to protect that very place. So you want it to open because you want to love, and then it triggers everything that's there to protect it. So the more you move towards the opening, the more of a threat it is to the survival identity. And then that then they trigger you because they're the one that that you have opened your heart to. And then you trigger them, and it's like a direct mirror. All they can see is a projection of their childhood, and all you can see is a projection of your childhood, and then you're just looping in this vicious circle and then wondering, how the hell do we get out of this?
Yeah, and it creates a bigger space, a bigger cavern in between the two of you. And then you end up on your phones in bed and you're not even like paying attention.
You're not talking to each other, and then all the kind of ways of eroding take place. Right. And so, just even that alone, the level of consciousness that you have to have about your own self and your own history and your own relationship to intimacy in order to even be able to communicate what's actually beginning to happen for you, let alone for us, right? Which is why, early year relationships, I can look back on my life, it's gotten easier as I've gotten more mature, because I know myself more each time. And so that allows more opportunities for conscious communication and repair rather than just being unconsciously pulled into the vicious circle. Right. So let's do this just because I think it will be really helpful. When you look back on your resume
Oh.
of relationships.
Right.
What have been the repeating factors?
Well, the repeating factors would be that I've always chosen what you would call an oral that is bright and shiny and
Well, describe that. Yeah, describe that in detail for the listener.
well, for me, it's like the shiny, it's the high energy, it's the charm, it's the
beginning.
At the beginning, it's the dynamic, it's the fun, it's like that personality that's probably almost always on and like in a performative way.
Which makes you feel what? And by the way, everyone listening, Nick hasn't prepared for this. Like I'm almost dissecting it with you in this moment.
Yes, which I told you, this is your realm, so you're going to have to direct the conversation. This is your expertise.
We're going to geek out on this. So you have been attracted to the charming, shiny, bright, confident, buzzing woman.
Yeah.
Which makes you feel what?
Which makes me feel adored and charmed and liked and I don't know. Yeah.
Adored, liked.
Respected.
Respected, wanted. Special. Like this shiny person is choosing me
and
right.
It makes me feel special and
right. Okay, so that's wanted, adored, special. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay. And then what happens?
And then we are having fun, doing life, living in the charm, living in the fun. And then at one point, when the honeymoon wears off, the pendulum swings and it turns into chaos and darkness and depression. And
can you describe that in even more detail, just like how it shows up as a pattern? Because and we can say it's a pattern because it's happened more than once. If it happens once, it could just be a coincidence. If it happens twice, getting a little suspect. If it happens more than twice, it's a pattern.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a big piece of like them having so much need that there was a part of me that probably got self-worth from supporting and making them happy.
Right. So
to get back to the charm, right? There was like this.
To get them back to the charm so you could feel wanted and special and needed and adored. So behind the charm, once the honeymoon phase wears off, you discover that there's another side to the human being that you've been charmed by.
Yeah.
And it's a surprising other side.
Yes, it's a surprising other side.
Which is that they have a lot of unmet needs.
Yes, I would say that's probably the biggest, is the unmet needs that ultimately I could never fulfill. It was just never enough.
So you were always a disappointment.
Always a disappointment.
Right.
Probably just like with my parents and their religion and all that stuff.
Right. So you get attracted by the charm, which makes you feel wanted and special and adored and needed. And then once you've taken the pill and you've given of yourself, the charm eventually wears off and you discover a side that you didn't know was there behind the charm, or you couldn't see it at the beginning, which is that they want a lot from you that you are not ever able to meet, which sets you up for always being
Not
a
enough.
disappointment and not enough. And then your whole energy is in service of trying to get back to being enough for this person, which you will never get. You never are.
Right.
Right.
And I do remember hitting points in both of those. I would say there's the two prominent relationships where I was like, I hit a point where I was like, I'm never going to be enough to fill this hole, this need that they have. And so what am I doing here?
Right. But, and this is another question, you don't leave even when you discover that, do you? Not straight away.
Well, the first time I didn't.
Right.
And the second time there was other variables that I was like, okay, maybe this will change. And then eventually it was just like, it got so chaotic.
Right. But you don't leave straight away. It's not like you realize that this isn't acceptable for you and then you go. There's still parts of your mind that are like, oh, maybe when this changes, or maybe when this gets better, or
Right.
if I could just do this, or maybe I'll do that, or this will happen. So your mind is kind of tricking you into hoping that at some point you'll get back to the magical rainbow unicorn that you fell in love with.
Yes.
And then you'll feel like you've achieved your goal.
Right.
But you never do.
Exactly.
Right. So we just deconstructed the pattern there. And so the consistent factor in that, and by the way, we'll do it for me too, so it's not like one-sided here. The consistent pattern for you is that you are the one that needs proof that you're wanted and adored for who you are. That actually then eventually finds the evidence, the proven evidence that you probably already knew right at the root, that in fact you are a disappointment and you can never meet this human being's needs. It can never be the right way.
Right.
How identical does that sound to your childhood?
Yeah, I mean, I could never satisfy my parents, probably primarily my dad, but and what he required of me from his point of view of life.
Yeah, and the only way that you could get the happy, charming version of him is if you abandon yourself completely.
Yeah.
And then do what he wants.
Yeah.
Which, that's a real lose-lose situation. Here are your choices from that survival identity. I honor who I am and
burn in hell.
Or I burn in hell. So, the dark side of the relationship feels like hell. I honor who I am, but then I completely disappoint this human being. They're so unhappy with me and I lose love. Or I completely abandon myself to do everything I can to be what they want from me. Does that sound similar?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would make sense to why unconsciously your identity would be so attracted to really similar kinds of human beings, because it's the only way that you know yourself. And it's also an opportunity for you to outgrow these patterns. Like, life will keep bringing us the same shit until we learn it, until we outgrow it.
Yeah. Yes. And the addiction to the old identity of that is what keeps you choosing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, you can't, there's no magic pill that's going to make it go away. You can't do affirmations to make it go away, that you can't journal the crap out of it. There's no amount of self-awareness that can get to the root of this changing. You have to be ready to outgrow it, meaning you no longer need it anymore because you needed it because it was how you knew yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I see one more thing.
Of course you do.
That what you experienced as a child was a front and I say this with no judgment to your parents. They were doing the best they can with the consciousness that they had, and they loved you. I know your father loves you so much. But behind the front was a kind of a manipulation. So all you ever really knew was that love looks like this. Love looks shiny and charming and quite literally God-led.
Right.
But it's inauthentic and has a kind of a form of a manipulation that comes with it.
Absolutely. I mean, that was what I grew up with. I mean, even in growing up in the church, there's always, it's like always the reach around. It's like, oh, Christians are always going to be nice to you because that's what it is. And then they're trying to convert you. Like they're always like, I'm going to get my hooks and then like manipulating you into like becoming a Christian.
Right. And what people don't realize is that as children learn and absorb who their parents are being, not just what they say or do.
Exactly.
So the child, and I mean all children, as in the human species, the child absorbs the energy and the behavior and the way that the nervous system is resonating of the parents. And so you would have absorbed and picked up, not consciously, your little sweet mind wouldn't have been going, oh, they're manipulating me. No, it becomes normal that whole way of being of the shiny, charming front with the hidden, unconscious levels of manipulation behind it, that would have been imprinted in your system as love.
Right.
So not only are you attracted or were attracted to that and recognized that, as in it recognized in your brain, it reactivated what was already imprinted in your brain. That's what love is. That's what makes all the hormones create attraction and want and this person is the one I choose.
Yes.
Right. And of course, as long as it stays unconscious, it will run your life. So what we can't see will just seem normal and it will feel real. It really will feel like love. And then you wonder, why am I here again? How can I be here again?
Right.
Until you see it. And then you can begin maturing and outgrowing it. I have another question. I don't think I've ever asked you this one. Did I have the same shiny charm, tell the truth, please, as what you had been attracted to before? Was there not as much of it that made you wonder if you were attracted? Because at the beginning, it wasn't like a jump in, I have to be with this woman. Was there a part of the process when you first met me and you started considering whether this could or couldn't be something, where you were wondering if there was enough electricity that had attracted you before to your past relationships, but there was something maybe missing here? Curious.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there wasn't the same shine. But then after my last relationship, I was like, I don't know if I want this anymore, you know? So I think
Right.
there was this whole like PTSD reaction, a feeling from
Right.
the previous relationship. So I think that it, in a different way, it felt like safe.
It felt safe, but there was still a part of your system that was wondering why there isn't that intense attraction? Because I remember that when we first were talking about becoming sexual together.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I'm bringing that up, and I think you know why I'm bringing that up, is that when we start to come out of the pattern, the only way that our system recognizes attraction and love is based on the trauma.
Right.
So when something new comes along, it can feel like something's missing.
Right. Right.
In fact, the good stuff feels wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't that what trauma bonding is?
It is.
When,
It is.
You feel these like love euphoric, like it's a strong attraction, but it's because that person is mirroring the parental
Exactly.
love
Right.
as a kid.
That's what we're kind of unpacking here. And the reason why I kind of deliberately stay away from the labels is because sometimes naming the label stops us from intricately getting into the roots of what's actually taking place, which is what actually allows the consciousness of it and for us to outgrow it. So, even though I do have a lot of energy, and I guess I can have charm. There's a part of me, a big part of me, that is not going to manipulate you. In fact, I was very, very dedicated to not manipulating you. There were no hooks. There was no games. I wasn't trying to seduce you. There was no part of me that needed you to want me, to make me feel whole. So for your imprinted survival identity, that would have felt like something was missing.
Right. That makes sense.
Right. Yeah, because when we first kissed, there wasn't like this, let's pull our clothes off each other kind of attraction, was there? In fact, we first kissed and what happened?
We were like,
are we meant to just be friends? Do you remember?
Yes.
It's so funny. Yeah, I mean, I think because we had become such good friends also, so we were like moving from the friend zone into the sex zone. But it certainly was funny. Like we had a good old smooch.
Yeah.
And then we both stopped and we were like, are we meant to just be friends? Right. Well, luckily that changed.
That definitely changed.
Right. So, yeah, there's so much that is kind of frozen and stored in the records of our memory bank. That is our history, that just gives us the imprint of what love is.
Mm-hmm.
And in my work, we call that the family field, meaning you inherit the family field. And it shapes who you think you are. It literally shapes your identity and your personality. And then that creates the magnet for everything that you feel attracted by. And then it recognizes and reactivates everything in your system of your history. Now, people may think that that's a problem, but no, that's the point. The point is that life will keep bringing you in the same looping pattern for a reason. Maybe this is the opportunity now, Nick, and we're going to look at me in a minute, for you to see this more clearly because everything that you're carrying from your history isn't who you are. You think it's who you are, but it's not who you are.
Right.
It's a survival mechanism, and it's actually getting in the way of your ability to really be who you are. So the gift of the past relationships and understanding what was continuously repeating is the beginning of you being able to open to a completely new possibility. Now, with us, have there been any similarities? Just less, I know that they're less drama, less toxic, but what, having unpacked this, what similarities have you experienced with us?
I mean, I think there's been a space of, well, I guess I notice it from time to time, but it doesn't really ever go there. It's different.
Right. You notice what from time to time?
I would probably say this, the piece of like, oh, I need to make her happy, and like that's like my job, and to the extent of my pattern,
Abandoning yourself.
abandoning myself. Yeah.
Right. Because in a way, you do want to make me happy.
Yeah.
But if it was at the expense of abandoning yourself, then it's not in service to either of us.
Right. Yes.
Because that's codependency. Right.
Yes.
Right. But now you see it come up, and then you have consciousness of it, which allows you to have a new relationship with it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the point of what I want to kind of share for everyone is that just because you're starting to outgrow patterns doesn't mean that your mind won't keep re-looping them. They will still come up because it's so much part of what's imprinted in the brain and your nervous system. So that's not the problem. The problem is the problem is if you have no freedom or power to make different choices when it does come up.
Right.
Okay, should we do me?
Yes.
Oh God. One more. I have just one more question because I wanna go in. I'm not deflecting. I promise. just because I want to also ask the same question to myself. If you were really radically honest with yourself, when did you know when your last relationships weren't right in relation to when it actually ended? If you were really honest with yourself.
I would say the last one, probably like 3 months in.
And then how much longer did you stay?
Another 7.
Right. And then the first one?
The first one, probably a year in.
Oof. Mm-hmm.
And it was probably another 6 to 8 months.
Right. And the reason why I asked that is because, how hard it is to tell ourselves the truth.
Right.
Because we want, or the pattern wants to try to solve whatever has been unsolved of your past. It's like the truth tends to be there, and then the mind will make all these stories to negotiate on top of it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that first one, it was like after I tried to break up with her the first time, the universe started like throwing bricks at me.
Right.
And I wasn't listening.
You weren't paying attention.
And I think there was a part of me that was like, have I given this everything? Have I, in the realm of commitment, have I like really tried my hardest here?
Yes.
And then the second time I was like, okay, this isn't working. I have to break up with her.
Right.
And then I was like, I had this wad of her like house keys on my keychain, which is like you would have to get like a screwdriver to ply the keychain off, and somehow they completely fell off my keychain. And I went to break up with her, and I was like, I I was like, and she's like, oh yeah, I'll need my keys back then. And I was like, well, about the keys, they just somehow fell off of my keychain. I have no idea. And she's like, oh, what is that, a sign? I was like, I mean,
Maybe.
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm learning, what it actually is to fully outgrow a pattern, which is really an identity, which is shaped by the past, is when you literally get that moment of insight and there is absolutely no part of you that is interested in going down this road again. You know, that whole analogy of, the pothole in the road, which is the pattern. And the first time you're walking down the road, you don't even see it and you just fall in. And then the second time you're walking down the same road and you still don't see it and you fall in, even though you fell in last time. The third time, you know it's there. As you're getting closer to it, you remember that it's there, but you still fall in. But this time you're in it going, damn, I knew this was here, but I'm still in it.
Right.
And then eventually you're walking down the same road and you know the pothole's there. And you know that you fell in it many, many times. And even though you were conscious, you fell in it. And so this time, as you're walking down the same road, you already know you're going to walk around.
Yeah.
So that moment of insight, and then it activates the part of you going, how can I do everything I possibly can to try to change this? I would say, now I'm in a relationship with you, that knowing you and who you are now, there's no part of you that we would even tolerate, even a moment of any of that.
No. I will say for the first part of the relationship, I was like, is this shoe gonna drop? Is it?
You were waiting for me to go bonkers.
Yeah.
To go cray-cray.
Yeah.
I remember. You were like, it was so hard for you to trust that you were changing the pattern.
Yeah.
And so you were literally waiting for the charm to disappear and the cray-cray to come.
Accurate.
I knew it. I could see everything. I was like, he's waiting for me to go bonkers.
I mean, I literally had PTSD from the relationship before, so.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we're laughing, but this is really, really painful stuff. It's not, It's really painful because the consequence is not only our life, but it's our heart. Okay, well, let's look at me.
All right, your turn.
Okay, so.
What was the original question?
The original question is, when I look back at all my relationships, do I see a pattern? And of course, yes. I see so many patterns. I mean, my head is like it's like a machine of analyzing patterns, so I see them all. But, and it really is, it's only as firstly, I had two kinds of partners. Which is, of course, perfect because I had two fathers. My real father left before I was born. And he was very, very charming and dynamic. And he was he walked into a room and everybody would turn to just admire him. He was very dominant and successful. And so he had that kind of fire in him, but he was also extremely unsafe and resistant of responsibility and pretty self-centered and very, very needy, hidden underneath it all. My second father, my stepfather, who married my mother when I was 4. So this is all before as my identity is being formed, I already have two fathers.
Right.
So my stepfather, who my mother married by the time I was 4, was the opposite of my father, which, by the way, is very, very typical of human behavior. Usually human beings do two things to deal with challenge and pain. They resist or they collapse into it. So when I say resist, it's very, very common to try to do the opposite of what you did before, thinking that that's going to change the pattern.
Right.
So my mother literally married not my father, a man that was not my father.
Right.
Everything of the opposite of him. And he was very, 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 very grounded and serious and quiet and withdrawn, and he wouldn't make a lot of noise. Very safe, extremely safe, but really kind of lacking in the dynamic and the charm and the fire. And he was the safe one. And then when I look back on my history of my relationships, that is what I would fluctuate. Sometimes I would go for the dynamic, charming, fiery guy, which would be like taking crack. It would be like, oh, like I can't get enough of this human being. But always after the charm and the dynamic, it would become very, very unsafe, very violent tempers. And I would be constantly in a state of trying to please them and to not trigger their anger and not trigger the part of them that wanted to just bolt. It's so painful saying this. And eventually just always end up in a very toxic dynamic of codependency. And then I would come out of those relationships and I would choose the safe one, which eventually became my husband. The guy that I was before my husband was literally the epitome of my father, real father. And then I came out of that, and it was like a radar to find the safe one, the opposite. This is the safe one that won't be scary and won't be, I don't know, make me feel unsafe. So when I look back on my partners from kind of 20 onwards, it was the fluctuation of these two. So I never knew, but what would always happen is that if I was with the dynamic one, I would become the one that wasn't wanted. Meaning there was nothing good enough that I could do that would stop them from having these outbursts. And, well, in fact, I look at all my relationships and eventually it ended up in that place. Nothing good enough that I could ever do to make this human being be happy enough to want to be happy here.
I guess that's an interesting similar
piece to you, yeah. And eventually the overriding belief system, which I wouldn't be conscious of at the time, is that I am unworthy and not enough. Like nothing that I can do can take away this human being's anger or pain or want. So it would be like a kind of an entanglement between my mother and my father. There's nothing good enough that I can do or charming enough that I can do to make this human being be happy and also want to protect me and care for me, which was my mother and my father. So, my mother, as I said in the last episode, and I kind of always want to protect her when I'm saying these things because, I love her so much. But, she really was in a lot of pain when I was born. And throughout my childhood, she struggled a lot in herself. And I just remember how much sadness there was in the house or how much unhappiness I could feel from her. So I literally, that's another pattern. Every single person that I've chosen has some kind of hidden, buried, doesn't show at the beginning, but a hidden, buried, deep kind of sadness in them. That if I'm happy enough or charming enough, I can take it away. I'm going to make it better. So as a little girl, I would be the shining light. I mean, I literally, you look at home videos of my childhood and I am literally dancing around the room like bonkers dancing, like annoying everyone. I can't stop dancing and being light and sweet and skipping and just anything to try to make happiness in the space. But of course, it was driven by anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, it would never be enough. My mother would lose her temper again, or she would be unhappy, go into either sadness or anger. And hands down, every single one of my relationships had that pattern. What's also been identical is that I have always chosen men that have not wanted to provide. They have been resentful or resistant at the responsibilities of providing, which is, of course, my father. And so I would be the provider. And that has been consistent. Ask me what other questions you want to ask me.
Well, I thought what else are you dissecting here?
Well, I think when I come into us, well, firstly, my last relationship before you was a long one. I was married. I was in it for 13 years. We were married married 2014, and we got divorced it was the beginning of this year. The divorce came through. So what is that? I don't know. 9 years. So we were together for 13. We were married for 9. So that's a long time to be with someone. And it really was the kind of overriding experience for me, is that no matter what I can do, and I will do everything. I will give you the big fancy house. I will move to the country you want to live in. You don't worry, you don't work, I'll take over and I'll work, plus have children and breastfeed them, and I'll do everything. And hopefully now this will make you happy and I can be the light in your life. And I will, without realizing it, abandon myself in the process. So deeply, deeply, just repeating me with mama, while simultaneously a very, very deeply rooted resistance and resentment at protecting the feminine or providing for the feminine, which was my father. So of course I didn't see all of this up front, but I saw it a lot, second half of my marriage. And I really, really was using the marriage in a way to outgrow these pieces. In fact, my teacher always says to me, don't count your marriage as a failure, count it as a success, because I was able to outgrow so much of my childhood in it, even though it was very painful to do so, which I guess allowed me to be in a relationship with you that we have by the time I met you. But it's very, very confronting when you realize that you are literally just, like, I didn't even know who I was without that dynamic of no matter how shiny and good I can be, I'm always getting it wrong. And of course, that was a really difficult part for me when I got to the end of my marriage to realize, how much I had abandoned myself. I was providing everything. I had got the big, big fancy house, and it was a painful lesson to realize that no matter how beautiful the house is, it can't fix a marriage.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fix somebody who's already unhappy and depressed.
Well, it wasn't because of me. But as the child with my mama, I was convinced it was because of me and that I could change it. So, that's what's been really kind of overriding in all my relationships. And I think the hard truth is, two hard truths that I had to really face. First time I saw it was when we were in Peru. The first time we met, so before we were barely friends, but we were becoming friends, was realizing that I knew from day one that the relationship wasn't really going to meet my needs. It wasn't right for me. And it took me 13 years to come out of it.
Oof.
Yeah, I knew from day one. And I lied to myself immediately in order to make it fit. In order to make it fit with what? The story, the picture that I wanted. I was in my early 30s. I wanted the fairy tale. I wanted the marriage. I wanted the children. I wanted the family. I wanted to be safe. I wanted all those things, which was all to fill something that felt unwhole for me. And so I lied to myself, or not consciously, but my mind made up all the negotiating stories.
It's a justification machine.
Justification machine to make it fit. And instantly when that happens, you are already on a track of survival. You're constantly betraying yourself and denying yourself and lying to your own self over and over and over again to make it work. And you don't even realize you're doing it. And so, you're already on a track of I guess, self-abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the nature of survival. I recently read an amazing book. She's a good friend of ours, Amber Ray. Her book is called Lovable. And it was reading that book that I realized that, that was what my little sweet girl mind was doing. It was, and that's, by the way, what all human beings do as children, because it's the way children deal. It's the only way children can cope with the painful truth of what's there, is to tell stories to ourselves to make it better. And it's automatic. Our children aren't, as children, we're not sitting there going, I'm going to tell myself a story to make this easier. It's automatic. So it's like my father didn't want me or want to be responsible for me. And my mother was struggling with her own pain. And in order to make it better, rather than actually face and confront the realness of the truth of the present, my mind made up a story that I must be special and full of light in order to fix her pain. And my father does want me. And if I'm good enough, then eventually he'll show that to me.
Mm.
And that was the absolute identical track in every relationship I'd ever had.
Wow.
And, when we got together, it was such a different experience for me because, well, a few things. Because of the nature and the context of how we met, meaning we were doing deep work on ourselves individually. And what I loved about how we met was we had to hand our phones in. So we had no idea who we were, who the other one was in the world. You were just Nick. Like, that was it. You were just Nick, and I was Nicky. There was no roles, there was no character, there was no resume, there was no added stuff to add on top of it to make it shiny.
Right.
You were just Nick sitting on the mattress and puking in the bucket next to me. And I liked you. You're a nice guy.
Yeah.
But what was also wonderful about the way that we met was, as we came out of the medicine retreat, I was put on that no sexual energy dieta. meaning for 6 months, I was forbidden to engage in sexual energy in any way, even with my own self. And because of that, the 6 months that we became friends, I could not use any of the hooks that I had used previously in past relationships to try to make something better or happen to fix my pain. And so we really became friends in a new way. I'd never had that with anyone.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because there was no, like you, there was no kind of intense charge there. Like, oh my God, I have to have this human being. It wasn't there.
Yeah.
It was this kind of gentle unfolding of discovery.
Yeah.
That, oh, is he my best friend? Because I think I even said to you, I can't tell if you're my best friend or if I'm going to marry you. I even said, do you remember I said that to you after the photo shoot in New Zealand? It was so confusing to me because it felt so lacking in drama. There was nothing in my system that was like overwhelmed by lust and hunger for you.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I just felt home and safe and peaceful. So I was like, is he just my best friend? Or am I going to marry this guy? Like, it was like, it's just such an experience I'd never had.
Right.
And when I look at our relationship today, those stories have come up. They have. The part of me that wants to please you, or when things are hard for you, if I can just be shiny enough or good enough, I can take it away. But it's been such an entity in a context of transformation for both of us that I just have felt safe enough not to go into those patterns and to be able to just speak honestly to you. So they don't become anything. In fact, it's allowed me to heal even more.
Yeah.
So good. That was our dissection.
That was quite the dissection. Point is, do the work and find somebody who wants to do it with you, alongside you.
Yeah, and I think, just kind of, we were talking about this in the kitchen this morning. What even is it to be compatible with each other?
Yeah, what is compatibility?
What's compatibility?
I think that was a big thing that I look for. That is a big thing that I look for because, beyond sex, if you want to have a long-term relationship, you want to find somebody who you want to spend time with.
Right, but what I was thinking about it as I went to the bathroom before we started recording. Well, what even allows us to know what we want, what we need for compatibility, and what even allowed for me, the more that I knew myself, the more aware I became of what was required for compatibility.
Right.
Meaning, I don't think I would have even actively known what was compatible for me if I hadn't done all this work on myself. Meaning, I know myself more. I know who I am. I know what I need. I know what I don't want. The clearer and clearer and clearer that's gotten for myself, the more conscious I am to compatibility for me. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Otherwise, how would we even know? We're just driven by hormones.
Right.
So let's just go into compatibility before we finish, because I think it's a really important piece. What because I've never been with anyone that I'm so as compatible with as I am with you. Like it still shocks me how compatible we are to each other. It's wild.
Yeah, I think we're both into the same things, like health and wellness, optimization, creativity, our own human development. I think there's we like to go to bed at the same time.
We have the very identical sleep cycles, which is
very helpful,
very important.
I did not have that in my last relationship, and it was the most challenging
your
piece.
last relationship, she liked to stay up late and sleep late, and you like to go to bed early and wake up early, which is a nightmare. I was the same.
So hard because I would be the one that always had to stay up. I had to have this rule. I was like, I can't have in-depth, hard conversations after 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
And she would always start these conversations. That would be when it would begin. I'm just like,
the TED Talks would begin at 9 p.m. at night.
I mean, there's TED Talks, and then there's just like drama talks.
Deep emotional drama. Right.
Yeah, I think there's just like, we love travel. We love exploring the world. We love... we meditate together. We go and smoke mapacho together out in the field.
Which, by the way, is a tobacco. It's
sacred tobacco from Peru. We like doing journeys.
Yes, we like exploring consciousness.
Consciousness, yeah. So I think there's just a lot of elements that seem like they just fall in place, and I think it's after time of being together that we've really discovered these things.
Yes. I didn't know how good it could feel to be in a compatible relationship. But of course, I want to preface that by saying I really truly believe that I was only ready for such a compatible relationship because I had become more honest and aligned with myself.
Right.
Meaning I had come to a point in my life where I was no longer willing to abandon who I authentically am in order to make it work. And so because of that, I have attracted compatibility. So let's just dive in a little bit on compatibility, because we have an amazing friend who taught us what he sees about compatibility, and I thought it was brilliant.
What are you talking about?
Everett?
Everett. Yeah, that's right.
Our friend Everett, who spoke to us about the seven
intimacies.
7 points of intimacy, which are the
7 different types of
intimacy. 7
intimacy.
different kinds of intimacy that all human beings need.
Right.
All human beings. So let's try and remember this.
Let me see if I can get the...
Yeah, see if you can get it so we can get it right, because it's so powerful. Like it really blew my mind when I heard this. The 7 types of intimacy that all human beings need. I just want to get them in the right order. There's creative expression, creativity.
Here it is. Okay,
so here are the 7 types of intimacy that all human beings need, by the way. So this is not just in relationship. This is part of a process that allows you to be fully aligned in yourself.
Yes, and also not like most relationships, I think he said, fulfill maybe 4 of the 7.
Yeah, so it's not like you're looking for someone that can fulfill all 7. I mean, if you do, then you've hit the golden ticket. But other than that, you don't have to hit all 7. You can have friendships that hit the ones that your relationship doesn't hit. Or you can have work relationships that hit the ones that your intimate relationship doesn't hit. So it's more about, this is what you as a human being need to fulfill all your intimate requirements and needs. Yeah.
So the first one is family. So the feeling of family, the feeling of home.
The feeling of home.
The comfortability of being like in that intimate proximity with your family.
Right. So it is a deep human need to experience the feeling of family. And of course, I don't know a single human being that wouldn't say that they are longing for home,
Right.
a feeling of home. And you can find that in community. You can find that in friendships. But it is a need.
Yeah, but as an intimate partner, like I think that's one of the top core.
Right.
A
feeling of home.
A feeling of home, family.
Yes.
The next one is best friends.
Right.
So being able to do just be best friends and talk to all wee late hours of the night, do all kinds of fun things with that person.
Laugh our heads off together till we cry.
Laugh your heads off. And
stupid inside jokes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, hands down, you are my favorite person to hang out with.
Yes, likewise. Creative intimacy. So being able to create together, and whatever capacity that looks like, whether it's creating art together, creating business together, creating
music together.
Yeah. But there is this
there's a desire to express yourself creatively.
Yeah.
And that is a real human need when it comes to intimacy. And so can you do that with your partner? If not, you need creative partners. So this is a really important one. A lot of people can confuse creative intimacy with another.
Yeah.
As if you're meant to be lovers. And that's not the case. You can have creative inspiration with another human being just because it is fulfilling that human need. Like I look back on some of my partners that I got together with, and it was when we were creating together that I would think, oh, maybe we're meant to be together. But it wasn't. It's actually just because it feels so wonderful.
And there
to
is an
create
intimacy
together.
to
It's
it.
a real intimacy to create with another. Yeah.
So the next one is sexual polarity, which would be the sexual intimacy piece. And I think this is the one where it's like, okay, this is what makes an actual relationship romantic, a romantic intimacy.
Exactly.
Is when you have that polarity with the other person, where
Yes.
there is that actual physical sexual attraction.
And it's really, really important. But what some people make the mistake on is that is so good that you think that all the other parts of the compatible stages of intimacy should be there, but there isn't. Like all you have is sex.
Yeah.
And that's not enough.
That's not enough. You need at least 4 or 5 of the 7.
Exactly.
What
before you go on, because we said, when we first kissed, we we were like, oh, we're just meant to be friends. but then we kind of lay there and we were like, let's try a few more times. It's worth it because we're so close. So why not? And then, of course, the explosion happened.
Yeah.
So, and we love to have sex together. So,
and it just
That's
keeps
epic.
getting better and better.
It just keeps getting better and better.
So the next one is the spiritual intimacy. So having the same spiritual perspective or level of consciousness or togetherness or whatever that that looks like different things for different people.
Yeah, like you can explore the depths of connection with spirit together.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it may be that you connect through a religion, or it may be that you just connect through the journeys of discovering what God is for you, or consciousness is for you. But there is a part of a human being that requires spiritual connection.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other one is housemates.
Yeah, learning how to live together.
Yeah.
If you cannot be housemates, how are you going to have a long-term relationship?
Exactly.
Right. So, and of course, this is a difficult one for a lot of people. I certainly really struggled in my marriage in this area, being housemates, like really happy housemates. But I love living with you. In fact, it's
fun.
It's really, really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. The last one is parenting, which doesn't necessarily mean having kids.
That's not the last one, is it? Because we've also got the soul.
No, that's the last one.
Oh,
the
well, then
soul is a
spirit must be soul,
Yeah.
right? So there's a soul connection with the
Yeah.
spirit, right? And then the last one is parenting.
Is parenting, and it doesn't necessarily mean like parenting kids, but you could also create and birth something that you parent together,
like a business or a project that you are the parents of.
Yeah.
But that was when we look at our relationship. Firstly, before I go into us, when I heard these 7 levels of intimacy that are needed in all of us, everything in me was like, this is accurate. It made so much sense of the choices that I've made in my life, and if you're not meeting all these parts of yourself, then it is likely that you feel unfulfilled.
Yeah.
In some form. Now, it doesn't have to be with an intimate partner, but 4 or 5 of them does make the relationship very alive and compatible. But these are needs that we have in ourself in order to be fulfilled and thriving.
The intimate needs. And I think when he came over and shared those, we were like, wait, check.
How many do we have? Yeah, we really
pretty much all 7.
We had when we were with Everett, we had 6. We hadn't had the parenting yet.
Right.
Even though we had in business, we'd birthed our emanate process. But now I would say the parenting side has gone even deeper because we've now done holidays with my kids and we've done Christmas with my kids, and we've even had to discover that that part of us in relating to be those parents when they're there. So we were like, check.
You're like, oh, no wonder this feels so good.
No wonder it feels so good. And it also made a lot of sense to how we got together. The first thing was a feeling of home. I definitely felt that. Did you feel that?
Yeah.
It was weird. We just were like, and our nervous systems were at peace around each other.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was best friends and creativity. Like when we met in New Zealand, we did the photo shoot. It was when the creativity sparked off between us. That sparked off a whole nother level of energy between us.
Yeah. And then obviously the spiritual consciousness piece.
And then the spiritual soul piece. And we really had become best friends.
Yeah. And then it was the sexual polarity.
And then once we got past our funny
first interaction of a best friend kiss, which felt weird, we discovered that we could have really, really amazing sex together. In fact, best of my life, hands down. One of my favorite things to do with you ever. Yep. And then I guess probably housemates was...
Then I moved in.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, can we really live together? And it was really surprisingly wonderful.
Yeah.
We do life really, really well together.
Yeah.
And then there's the parenting.
Yeah.
Which I think we're doing a really good job.
Yeah.
So, golden ticket.
Yes. So shout out to ev.thecreator on Instagram if you want to check. He should be talking more about this stuff. So check him out. Yeah,
this is not our process. It is from a friend of ours called Everett, and really, it makes so much sense when it comes to compatibility. So I think before we finish, just to get really clear in what you need in yourself when it comes to these 7 kinds of intimacy, even to acknowledge that you have all 7. These needs are in you.
Yeah.
And if you're denying them, then there is a part of you that is denying yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then when you meet someone, don't just think that the sex is the answer.
Yeah, that's only one of the 7. So you got to look for the rest of the 7.
Can you do at least 4
or 5 of them?
Or 5 of the others. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it really becomes a wonderful experience and journey together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, that was
another doozy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, my beloved, for letting me dissect you.
Of course. I can do hard things.
Thank you for letting me play in my weird weird playground.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.